I don't know what happened there. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are we?
All right. How are you?
Doing good. Super excited about Friday this week because it's been a week. So
It has been a week. You and I were on the West Coast earlier this week.
Yep.
In Las Vegas, planning for something pretty spectacular that we may start talking about in the next couple weeks on here. But it was great. And then you flew back and you had to go do another thing, and it's been busy. And then we're back on the road again on Sunday.
Correct.
So we need to get some rest this weekend, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. Any big plans for the weekend?
Well, yeah. So I'm going on a trip with a bunch of young people because I have nothing else better to do. So.
Well, I'll be watching football.
There you go. There you go.
So just a couple announcements. This week on the Combustion Chronicles, Artie Morali, who is the Chief Customer Officer for M&T Bank, the secret sauce for designing for humans. You need to go out and listen to that episode, as well as our next show on Friday, November the 4th, will be Jason Ruda, Director of Patient and Provider Experience from Tandem Health. And we're going to talk about everyone has a story. But most important, Michael, why do we do this show? And why do we keep, we're over a year now, Michael, doing the show. And why do we keep doing it? Why is it so important?
Yeah, so I think today's angle is a direct result of me being tired, if you can't tell how I look today. And as people know who work with me, tired me is either super snarky or super nice. And today is super nice. So I'm thinking about empathy. I'm thinking about just the fact that you should give a crap about the person next to you is a reason to focus on experience. That if you are paying attention to the people in the room, the workers that you say you care about, the customers you say you care about, then if you were leading with empathy, which is, pretty normal, what everyone says right now is you got to lead with empathy, right? But we're not doing it. So yeah, for me, the whole reason we do this is to inspire, motivate, challenge people to be able to pay attention to other people and to, at some level, empathize with them and to quit being so either selfish or money driven in the wrong ways, because you can still be money driven and be empathetic. They're not mutually exclusive.
Love it. Well, we have an amazing guest today. And probably something that we've not really ever touched on here on the show. So Navin Goyal M.D. Had people call him crazy for retiring early from being a specialized physician to becoming a venture capitalist. You don't hear that much, Michael. Low risk, high reward to high risk, possibly awesome, but also a ton of uncertainty. I love that. To complicate the issue, he loved practicing medicine to help people, and they all knew it. But after co founding a healthcare company as a founder, he got the entrepreneurial bug, and we know what that's like, and started a few more things, including making bigger investments. Investments into companies, but investments into himself. Turns out that he loved this, and he has found ways to continue helping people. So, without further ado, we are going to bring Navin up on with us. Hello, buddy.
Hello, how's everyone doing?
Doing great, doing great. It is so good to have you with us today. And people will hear us talk a lot about the physician Underdog today, and I have my copy here, and we'll talk about where you can get it. It is just awesome. And we met a few months ago, Navin, and just to hear your story, but we start every episode off with the same thing. The same question is, why do you do what you do, and what keeps you motivated as you do it?
So, I am an empowered individual through the story of my journey, which has been a lot of different things. And in doing so, I am at my best self. And the way I think, the way I treat people, the way I am in my relationships, and even the energy I have. And so, in my realization for myself, I have the opportunity to do it with and for other people. And so why I do it is because it happened to me and I believe it. I've seen impact in other people around me. And so everything I do, from sharing content to writing to investing to working with people, is to help uplift them, because when everyone is empowered and everyone feels good and at their best self, the world does become better. Our creativity comes out and we can solve problems, and just it is so that's what's become clear to me.
Michael, that's just what you were talking about. And you
Exactly.
had no idea what he was going to say. I love it. I love it. And I think, Navin, that's why you and I hit it off so well. Is I do think all three of us have that. How do we uplift everybody? How do we make everybody a better person in this world? And if we focused on that, gosh, how much bullshit of stuff would go away in the world, right? And there's a quote in your book that I just could not avoid us not talking about, only because anybody that knows me has heard me on my high horse saying that the healthcare system was built for one thing and one thing only, and that was to pay claims. And I've never heard this type of way that you put it. And there's a quote that you have in your book that says, physicians are an intelligent and capable group of people who train to work within a system that was not built by them or for them. Michael, you could shake, like Michael and I are both shaking our head, because it's not just physicians. You know, we've done it with pharmacists, we've seen it with nurses, we've seen it with all of them, right? And so tell us a little bit about that, because I think what will help in that, you also talked a little bit about how you define underdog. And it's different than how I would have defined it. So I think let's level set with that quote and then that definition of why you wrote a book called Physician Underdog.
Yeah. So, and I appreciate that. This, and I, when I wrote this, it was like, yes, this is it, because this is how I've been feeling, how people around me have been feeling. And so, let's talk about physicians for a moment. And, I'm an anesthesiologist. I trained a long time, like a lot of other people do. And so when you train so hard and become an expert in a certain domain, and your intention and your motivation has been to apply that directly to patients and people, and then you're in a culture, a structure, a career that really doesn't enable that. In fact, it actually tries to put obstacles in front of that. it becomes frustrating. It becomes, wait a second, what did I do wrong that, I did all the things right. And the medical system is around the world, in the US specifically, is not easy. And it's like so many steps we need to take. So it's just realizing that there's nothing that we did wrong, and there's nothing that's wrong with us today. It's just, all we know is this healthcare system structure that exists right now, and we're so frustrated. So instead of being frustrated at just that, you need to look outside the door and say, this structure is just one structure. This is not the world. This is not how I need to take care of people. And for me, leaving clinical medicine in 2019, and I call it my phase 2, I just have a different mindset that I now tell a lot of physicians, medical students, people in healthcare, that don't be discouraged, because this structure was built a long time ago, not by us. And it really wasn't built, even like today, it's not being worked on for a patient. It's being worked on for other factors, for different people who have their hands, in a bag or of some sort. And that's fine. I'm not saying an individual or a group is guilty or evil. It's just, there's no alignment. And then your second question, which is what the definition of an underdog is. It's slowly kind of always changing, but at the core, it's being bet against. So you are a physician in this country, which is a highly educated person, and a lot of people from the outside say, "Wow, that's great. They're in this great position. They're probably set for life." Well, I can tell you from the physician world, that's not true at all, because what people worked hard for, they still aren't taken seriously in certain situations. When policies and decisions are being made nationally, internationally, physicians are just a small piece, even though they know a lot about it. And so physicians aren't being bet on to help lead and help people, right? And so they are technically underdogs because they're not being relied on or bet on. But what does that mean? Does that really change the fact that they have the capability to do it and the intention to do it? No. It's that people around you are betting against you. Should that stop you? Hell no. It's like a team who has lost 10 games and shows up to this game. It's a brand new game. Let's go. Right? Do you think the coach says, we've lost the last 10. Let's try to lose a little bit more in a more classy way. Right? F that, man. Like being bet against can be turned into a motivation. And why are people betting against us? Just because of our history, or because what they see? Like, I'm a shorter guy here. And so when I'm in school, I'm the short guy. Well, you know what? There's like positives to being a little bit shorter. I'm a little more agile. I can do this and that. I don't know. But
plane travel, so much easier for sure.
Yes, there you go. But what you see in front of you in my history has nothing to do with what I'm about to do right now. That's an underdog.
Okay, Michael, I see your wheel spinning.
Yeah, so I love the perspective. I think it's interesting, especially because a physician is the face of the brand, right? So as a patient, when I am frustrated with the system, with healthcare, which is easy to do, right? I pretty often would be ready to take it out on the physician as a perceived face of the brand, and someone who has control, and someone who makes more money than me. Let's be honest.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm paying attention to their expenses, to their insurance, to their medical school debt. I'm not paying any attention to that. I'm just looking at face value assumptions. Absolutely. Right? But if I look at them as the face of the brand and say, well, this healthcare sucks, it's so easy for me to blame them. Yet if physicians, as the people in power, because there is a power structure and they are, towards the top of that power structure, we're able to align the rest of that ecosystem to say, let's gang up together on the actual problem here, which is the way this was designed for none of us, if we're being honest. Because, when you can gang up on a common enemy, there's no stronger bond, right? That's when major things happen, is when different groups can set aside their differences and gang up on a common enemy. So that's just fascinating from that perspective. I really appreciate hearing it. Speaking of empathy, right?
Yeah.
As a patient, when I'm at my weakest and my worst, I'm not thinking about empathy for the physician.
Yeah.
Um,
And you shouldn't have to. In a perfect world, you
exactly,
shouldn't have to.
exactly.
The
Yeah.
healer should be healing you with and that's fine. It's one way. And that's actually what physicians expect. We
Hmm.
expect to take care of you and you shouldn't worry about us. But the problem is after so much neglect and so much adversity, the healers are in jeopardy.
Hmm.
The burnout rate is like in medical school is 50%, 50. Physicians
Crazy.
are dropping out of the system. Physicians are killing themselves. Physician suicide wasn't even a term that I recognized really together. Now it's a regular thing. That's
Hmm.
not just coincidental. There's just a lot of things going on right now. So I'm going with our original my why, empowering people. It's I talk a lot with physicians and other folks who reach out and are curious about the story. Half the time it's me listening and trying to uplift because these are people who worked hard and did the right things and they are in their dream career supposedly, but they're not feeling that way at all.
Yep.
And it's sad, but there is opportunity to continue uplifting and look at other options.
I also appreciate that you're so solution focused, right? I think it's really easy to look at this beast of healthcare and feel so helpless. And of course, the whole thing of like, you can't boil the ocean. You can't fix, you personally, individual, can't be the one who fixes all of healthcare in the United States, right? But you can influence policy on a bigger level. And more importantly, you can control your space, right? So
Yeah.
what can you do? And that's what I hear you saying
Yeah,
is
yeah.
how can you influence change, not just positivity, which is important and I appreciate that, but you're also talking about change and reframing mindsets.
Absolutely.
So let's go there because in your book, you talk about a shifted mindset that needs to happen, right? What do you mean by that? Because Michael and I talked, Michael and I wrote a book with a friend of ours that talks about taking mindsets and heart sets, right? And how do you bring them together? What do you mean around the shift in mindset? Now, I've read the book, so I can tell people, but what do you think there?
Yeah, so just following upon what I defined as an underdog. Now it's the action afterwards. It's realizing that what you have done yesterday and what people are judging you on right now doesn't affect what you can do right now. And so what I wish I could do, I should do. Right? Now, you just think about that for a second. So it's almost like, gosh, I would, and by the way, I was this person. So it's not like I'm not being empathetic. I was there, and with some confidence and maybe some screws loose too, I said, no, I can do this. Why are those people out there um, more free and doing what they want to? So the entrepreneurial community inspired me a lot. And so I started angel investing pretty early in my medical career. So I was investing in startups, getting to know entrepreneurs. And you know what I realized is there was no obstacles. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to do this. And it was pursuing a passion and a greater purpose, and nothing was going to stop them. And then I go wear my physician hat on and go into the hospital, and all the conversations are about, yeah, I don't know if this was the best specialty, or I don't know if this was the best job. I'm like, what are we talking about here? Let's like break that out. What do you want to do? And if you don't know what you want to do, go explore, go talk to other people outside of this seemed like a jail at the time, and go get inspired and let's push each other to be empowered and do things, right? So I think you need to surround yourself with positive people and doers. You need to surround yourself with opportunities, which isn't easy. And then you need people to support you in that action. That's what I've found. So I am a solutions person now. I wasn't necessarily before, but now I'm all in. And I no longer just, if I find myself complaining or thinking like that, I'm like, come on, this is not how you move. You make progress in the world. That's a
Well,
mindset shift. I didn't physically change. I didn't get taller just now on this TV, on this show, but I flipped what's in here.
Right.
Think about that. And everyone can do it. How empowering is that?
Right. And you have to be in the place where you have capacity to do that. Right. So there are steps before that to do the work on you, to be able to lay the foundation, to be able to do that when you need it the most. Right.
Absolutely.
And I think that's also a critical piece in not just, I have a thing against the term mental health, but for me, it's well-being, right?
Yeah, totally.
Focusing on, when you talk about being your best self, are you doing the work to be in the headspace so that you are ready to be able to accept and embrace those mindsets? Because they're not easy. Because what we are talking about is what we call radical collaboration, right? Which is going out of industry to somehow affect you, what you're doing in ways that you had never thought of before, and make you a little bit nervous, or if you're me, very, 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 very nervous.
Right? It's funny. Navin, I know one of your dear friends who you're with, Ryan, and I actually joke with Ryan that Ryan is Michael, and you and I are the same, right?
Got it.
So all of these things, what I've always appreciated about my time working with Michael and watching your relationships is watching them lean into something that can be very uncomfortable.
Is
very right. Right. Like, so stability, like those things. But when you make that flip, I'll never forget when that happened for you, Michael. Like when you made that mindset flip and you said, I'm all in. Mm-hmm. Right? Like the liberation that comes with it is so powerful. And when you see that happen, Navin, right? Like, I know for me, when I see that happen in someone, then I'm like, yes. Like
it's amazing.
Right? You do grow 6 more inches. Like you feel like you've accomplished something.
You've arrived. And it's almost like when people tell you to smile more because it makes you happier, right? Which is true. It does elevate your mood.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when you start thinking that way, even if you're not there yet and truly believing it, it gives you an opportunity to believe it. It puts you in a place where you have the opportunity to succeed farther along than where this current mindset is. So it's kind of like smile right now, even if you don't feel this joy right now, and see what happens. And that's what a mindset shift can do.
So you have a quote, and I love this, and I think this leads right into where we're going as we start to, I hate to say it, start to wrap up the episode, but everyone is equipped, but not everyone is empowered. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, so I actually pulled this out in a conversation on a podcast a few months ago, and it stuck. It stuck for myself and the host, and we're like, yes. And that's the whole empowerment. What's your pathway to empowerment? What's your pathway to get out of an underdog scenario? Very consistent with how I feel and how I think is that we all have the tools, right? We all have the tools, whether it's mindset, confidence, the ability to learn, curiosity, all these things we talk about. We all have that. Now it takes different people, environments, and intention to extract and optimize those tools for you. So what worked for me won't necessarily work for you, but there's a good chance that you surround yourself with positive people, with opportunities and encouragement. We can optimize the ability for you to use your tools to be the best version. That's what that means. And how empowering is that? Think about it. This is not, you need to make this kind of money. You need to be here. You need to geographically be around here. No, wherever you are right now, you actually have that. And it's about getting that out. And a lot of us don't know how to do that, by the way. And that's okay. It's just knowing that you have it. That's the first step.
I'm processing that. Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's making a pretty bold claim of the starting place, right? So that's pretty revolutionary. I would say that I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of someone who feels very beaten up and very imposter syndrome driven and confused, right? And if I heard someone like you come up to me and say, "You got the tools," and I'll be like, "No, I don't."
Yeah, it almost doesn't sound the way you just described that, which I want to clarify. It almost doesn't sound empathetic,
Mm-hmm.
and just like you would tell someone, sometimes you really just have to look inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's essentially another way of kind of saying that. Why are you looking inside though?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have everything inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so by looking inside, let's figure out how we break you out of this scenario, help you make
Mm-hmm.
progress.
Yep.
And your progress today might be look different someone from someone else or different from someone else, but
Right.
it's about making that progress and
Right.
finding that for yourself.
And I think it's completely empathy driven. And you know, I talk, or we talk, and Michael, you know, I kind of taken on this role as either the corporate pastor or the pastor to the marketplace. That's what you're doing in your own way, Navin, is you are helping people see what's in them. Many of my days is talking to people just to help them get through something, to see what's in them so they can go do what they need to do. And I think that's what's powerful. And we say we're talking about experience on the show here. I think what today has, and those that have been listening in the healthcare space, is we really need to start to focus on, we have offices of patient experience in hospitals, right? Where's the hospital going to create the office of, provider or clinical experience, right? Like, we are in a huge crisis. We talked about this a few shows ago, and you just even talked about 50% burnout in medical school. And I have a very dear friend of mine in California who's taking a break this semester. He was on the verge of a breakdown in medical school in his third year, and he's like, I have to just take a break, and and focus on well-being. And Michael and I don't love the term mental health, so like well-being, like you said, physician suicide, that wasn't a topic even 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Now it's a huge topic. And then, 50% of the clinical workforce is going to leave the industry by 2025. So when are we going to really pull and think about not just leveraging the mental and the training you have, but to start to treat physicians and clinicians as humans again and humanizing their experience? I think that's huge. And it's great you're in phase 2, and I love what you're doing. You're investing, you're investing in purpose, which is another thing that just gets me radically excited. But I really want us to think about, how do we start to humanize the clinical experience, not just doctors, but nurses as well.
Agree. It's a team. There's a lot of teams involved.
And that is what's really what you have to do. And I love this. I'll give one quote that's out there. Cody, very dear friend of ours, you have the skills. Sometimes they're stored in a back room. You have the key. Sometimes you just need to be reminded you have it and can unlock it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Navin, thank you so much. We will have you on again, and we'll probably even next time talk more about the investing piece. But I just felt like this was so important. You'll see the ticker scrolling. You can get the Physician Underdog at physicianunderdog.com. It's a great book. I loved it in so many things. And I even love that you've even changed my way of thinking of Underdog.
Wow. That's
right?
powerful. Thank you.
That is not what I think we've all thought about. And as well, if you want to get a hold of Navin, you can get him on LinkedIn. He's out there. He's active out there on it and posting great content. So, Navin, if you will just hang out for a couple minutes, Michael and I will close up with you after we close the show out. So,
thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, Michael, go rest some today. I know you've had some busy days this past week as well. Just a reminder to everyone, our next show again will be on November 4th. Everyone has a story with Jason Ruda, and really, really excited for that show. But other than that, Michael, have a great weekend. Everyone else have a great weekend, and we will talk soon.
Thanks a bunch.
All righty.